Hello, 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 hello. How we doing, everybody? Good to see you all again. It's been a little bit. A week. Well, no, what, 5 days since the last live. So I think that's the longest that I've gone for in like 16 months or something of not having lives. Something big like that. I don't know. Feels like it's a hell of a long time. But I'm back. I got back this morning. Good to see you all here. Um, got back. Well, I say this morning. It's only noon here, so it's just a few hours ago that I came back. Did not get a lot of sleep. Did not get a lot of sleep over the whole trip, but definitely not last night. So I'll need your help to guide me on a couple of the discussion points that we have today. Um, and anything else that I might have missed. There's a few things I do want to talk about, but otherwise, obviously, as well, Anfield, Liverpool tomorrow, huge game. But yes, I got a few things I want to discuss, including the land, the ownership situation, the stadiums, or some sort of progress made on that this week. Xerxes, go back to talk about that a little bit more. The midfield, some unfounded inaccurate Ugarte slander, and the lineup tomorrow, and all of that. Okay, and go through all of that. So good to see you all here. KF, thank you for the donation. Welcome back. Thank you. Good to see you all here. How are we doing? How are you doing this Saturday evening? It's been an interesting day of games in the Premier League. I've been keeping up as much as I could this morning. I'm watching. I've got the Arsenal one on as well. Not that it's very particularly exciting. It's, a set piece and
How
a
was the
bore from
UAE,
there.
James? Did you and Jim have a blast?
How Dubai? No, I'm still banned, Stuart. Haven't you heard? I'm still banned from Dubai. No, I'm not. But I did have a great trip. Jim went to South Africa actually very recently, so maybe he was visiting there. Where I have a family, but yeah, there was some really interesting stuff going on. I'm super amused and incredibly unsurprised by Postecoglou getting sacked again. What an awful appointment and an awful decision that was from Marinakis to appoint him in the first place. Like, of all the managers in all the world, when you look at how Nottingham Forest play football, Postecoglou is probably the worst possible fit. The worst possible fit. You have a club in Forest that was semi-successful last year by playing deep block, counter-attacking, strong defense football, and you appoint a manager that cannot, for the life of him, organize a defense. It's his biggest flaw. He leaves his defense wide open, and you look at it and you go, the hell? Why was that appointment made in the first place? Absolutely no thought went into that, clearly, beyond we'll just pick a big name. Obviously, the sacking in the first place of Nuno was stupid anyway, so it's no surprise there. But hey, it's neither here nor there. None of my business what Forest want to do with their lives. Newcastle, 2 wins in 8 against 2 relegated sides. Still below us in the table, years into their project. I guess that's okay. I guess that just happens. I guess that's how it just happens. I'm waiting for the tweets, for the discussions, for the TalkSport segments, for all of that. I'm waiting for all of that to hear about what's going wrong with Eddie Howe, who some of our fans were clamoring for not too long ago. Shame on you. No, I know Forrest could have won that game too. That's the irony of it. Like, They actually played better than Chelsea, probably, especially early on. Did I see the Garnacho stinker? Yeah, I've watched every game of football that he's played for years now, so I've seen a lot of those. But yeah, look, Garnacho, he is what he always was, and I'm still baffled, absolutely baffled, that some people were seeing some player in there that has like this world class capabilities. Garnacho is Garnacho. He's Garnacho. He's a mediocre, run at a player, low percentage dribbling, head down, okay physicality, okay athleticism type of player. And that's just what he is. And he's not going to be better than that. He's a player who's going to do a high volume of these actions that look interesting and look exciting, but are ultimately fairly ineffective. And it's just who he is. There was nothing lost by losing Garnacho when he left. And so I think we're seeing that week in and week out. You know, the more he plays, the less it you see of him. Stuart, 10 gifted memberships to the community. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for always supporting channel, for supporting me when I get back, and supporting me today. I'm tired and appreciate that. I appreciate that. Now, if you didn't catch the last video, I said I was going to be gone most of the week. Most of the week, if not all of it. I didn't have any time to make extra videos. But thank you, Stuart, for always gifting the memberships to the community and all of that. So, thank you very much. So yes, a few things though to discuss today. Obviously, we will get into United versus Liverpool tomorrow. Massive, unbelievable, huge game, isn't it? Huge game. I mean, really, 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 really big. I mean, it always is, isn't it? But at the same time, like, we need this. We need this game so bad. So we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We will get to it. We're going to discuss it. But there's a few other pieces of news. It's funny, Nice. I got a text from someone yesterday, and they're like, "Are you okay? I haven't heard from you. You haven't tweeted. You haven't done anything in like 4 days." And I was like, yeah, I know. I've been consistent, and I got to get back to consistency now because Lord knows vacations and things are expensive. But anyway, it's all good. I appreciate you all being here. Let's get into some news, okay? Let's get into some chatter. Last thing on other clubs. I still think Man City with Haaland are winning the league. That was my prediction at the start of the season. And I said, that I felt that was going to be the thing. Haaland, golden boot, back to his best, and City win the league. Yes, Arsenal presently still pushing, and will still likely be top of the table this weekend, but Haaland is on another planet. He's probably the best player in the world right now, isn't he? Is there anybody better than Erling Haaland right now? I mean, just the sheer number of goals he's scoring is practically unheard of. The guy's going to score 60, 70 goals this year. He's going to break some insane records, isn't he? I can't, he is, right? I'm not crazy here. He's going to break some crazy records with goals this season. It seems inevitable. I can't believe I've seen, player scoring at the level that he is right now. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Otani. Well, let's stick to this sport. But yes, Otani, that was incredible. Kane is better. Let's see. Right now, I just because I think scoring in the Bundesliga is cheating, I'm still going with Haaland at the moment. Scoring in the Bundesliga for Bayern is cheating. It's cheating. Let's be real. Scoring in the Bundesliga when you're playing for Bayern, I feel like it's cheating. It's much harder to do it in the Premier League. Not saying Kane isn't an incredible player. We all know how incredible Kane is. Let's not like downplay Harry Kane here, okay? Harry Kane is an exceptional, you know, generational level talent. We know that, but we've seen that firsthand. We've seen that in the firsthand. But I'm just saying, what Haaland is doing right now is on another planet. That's just my opinion, okay? That right now, what Haaland is doing is more impressive at the moment. But that's neither here nor there. It's either or. I'm not going to downplay Harry Kane. Harry Kane is incredible, obviously. And the fact that we never had Harry Kane at Manchester United is probably the crime of the last decade, isn't it? He was such a United player. He should have been a United player. He was supposed to be a United player. And we bottled it, and we didn't ever make a move for him in the end. Well, we didn't ever make the move for him in the end when we needed to. But it is the crime of the decade that we never ended up with Harry Kane. It was so obvious sitting there. You spend whatever it takes to get him. And we just never did it. Crime of the decade. Crime of the decade. We should have had him. Harry Kane should have been in United colors years ago. And who knows, man? Who knows what would have happened? Instead, we decided to bring Ronaldo back and then sign Rasmus Højlund. Good Lord. Good Lord, this club. There are United should have beens, and Harry Kane is at the top of that list. No, his wages were crazy, but who cares? Like, the point was, I think that Harry Kane is a player. You just forget the money. If it's doable, you do it. Period. There are players that are worth that. And Harry Kane is one of those guys. He was worth that. He's a player you don't even think about the money, because you know that he's going to make you that good. And he is. He is. You look at the money we paid to Ronaldo. You look at the money we paid for Rasmus. You look at the money we paid for Xerxes, who we'll talk about today. You look at the money we've paid now for Šeško, who I like, don't get me wrong, but when you add that all up, it certainly costs you more than Harry Kane would have. And that's, I think, one of the ways you can go wrong so many times, and that we have gone wrong, is trying to be so clever at times, doing weird shit. Sometimes just buy the best player. You know what I mean? Just buy the best player. You know? But yes, what's the mood like this week? You know, I went away, I stayed off of most everything, and then I've come back, and I feel like I'm still just seeing the same kind of negativity. It's very strange. It's just, well, it's not strange. It's understandable. But I still feel like people are almost, people are almost hoping that we get a battering tomorrow, you know? And I realized something before I went away that like settled everything down for me, and where I'm calm. And it was when I was looking at some of the numbers and the charts and the graphs of where we went, you know, of where we ended up as a club under Ten Hag. And I feel like what really does bother me to a degree is that a lot of people who really, really, really backed Ten Hag have turned very quickly on Amorim, but they have not recognized just how bad Ten Hag made us. Like, when you look at the way we're performing, the numbers, the ages, everything that happened, there was nothing. No automisms, no patterns of play, just pure crap. And it was that bad. And once I realized how bad we had gotten, I looked at it and I said, it just makes sense. We go up. We have to go up from where we were. And I think the only question is, is it fast enough? And I think that a lot of people are looking at it and still saying, obviously, we're not good. And they're looking at it on that basis. But I'm looking at it and I'm going, are we better than we were before? And that's my judgment. And the answer is yes, because we were that bad, and we were that bad under Ten Hag. And I think people still shut their eyes and didn't realize it. Yeah, I saw those quotes on Nathan Bishop. Look, that Nathan Bishop said on Ten Hag. Look, I've shared it before. Ten Hag was not a good person at United, not a good manager. He killed so much in that dressing room. So much. Just so much that can be attributed there over all those years. All those years. How much was lost from what Ollie had built, the positives that Ollie did build. And I thought he was not good enough at certain aspects, but what he did build was gutted by Ten Hag, and we started from a much lower point. Honestly, our league football, our league form has never recovered from the 7-0 to Liverpool. I don't know if people realize that to a degree, but like we won that League Cup. We lost 7-0 to Liverpool. And since then, our league form has been on a catastrophic decline year over year over year. And it's only now, after last season, bottomed out and starting to slightly come back up. But it has been, I don't think people quite recognize just how bad our in-prem performances have been since that 7-0 and how badly it's declined. We became, in the league, probably the 15th best team, and that's life. And that's life. We became the 15th best team in the league. They did. Liverpool, that 7-0 shattered that team, and we dropped over the next 2 years to become the 15th place team. We deserved to be there. And now we're climbing up, but tomorrow is a marker. Tomorrow is a point where it's a moment. It's a moment in time, because we have the ability to lay down a marker and say, we're turning this thing around. We have to. If we get blown away tomorrow, we get beaten, and it doesn't look like we're any good, it's going to be hard to feel like we're getting somewhere if it's easy to knock us right back down. But if we can, even do in the current context of performances, if we can put in one like we did last year and get a draw or a win, then it'll be exceptional. It'll be exceptional. But we can't get blown away. If we get blown away, then that's crazy. They can't let us get blown away. And the biggest thing is you need to see that confidence. This tough atmosphere, all of that. We have the fucking ability to beat Liverpool too. That's the crazy, and that's the point. There's form. There's all sorts of stuff. And we have all the tools to beat them. Attack with pace behind the fullbacks. We have it. The long balls behind the fullbacks. We have it. Like, every way that we plays into, like, everything that we do plays into what should be able to get a result against Arne Slot and Liverpool. We just have to pull it off. We just have to. We cannot fail. But if we get blown away, then it's like, then that's it. And it just ends. then you start to feel like, all right, well, any signs of progress are gone. Any signs of progress are gone. Midfield, I don't know. We ran them around last year with Ugarte and Mainu, I think, in the midfield. It was last year. Ugarte and Bruno, maybe. I don't remember. It was one of those. And we ran them around. I think we just have to perform. I mean, it's just to me, it's just about performing. As long as we perform, we know, it's people are so negative at the moment, unfortunately, on Amorim that like they don't totally get his quotes, but he said the quote a few times. He said it a few times recently. He says he can win against anybody. We can beat anybody. He said that. He said we can beat anybody. And it's true. He's right. We absolutely can beat anybody. And whenever he says that quote, he's making a point, which is we can if we show up. And he's absolutely right on that. We can if they show up. We absolutely can if they show up. That's the reality. We know we can do it if they show up. We know that there's a team capable here of winning things. Slot reckons that we're better than the season, than the table shows at the moment. I mean, pretty much everybody in football reckons that United are better than the table shows, but people on Twitter decided that we're bad, so we'll have to accept that. They know better. But anyway, let's talk about some news, and we'll get back to Liverpool in a minute. I want to talk about the ownership first, okay? So there was obviously news earlier this week, in accord to everything going on, that Manchester United are optimistic that a deal for land around Old Trafford that would pave the way for the new stadium would be struck. So they understand that there was something about this. The club believed that a compulsory purchase order could ultimately be made with the government intervening to set a fair price. Now, I want to explain that once again, our backup plan to this whole disagreement with the railway was that we have this guy, Seb Coe, Lord Coe, or whatever the hell his name is, apologies, on the council for this whole regeneration project, on the whole planning thing. And he can force, or with that board, can force through a compulsory purchase order because the government are backing essentially this whole regeneration project for the area. So there's like this hanging threat where we're saying, listen, if you don't agree to set a fair price, then something else can happen here, right? We can do something else to force this to go through. And then it says the club believed that the compulsory purchase order could ultimately be made with the government. It says it can be revealed if now carried out would have been described as constructive discussions with Freightliner and are optimistic about striking a deal within the coming months. So point being here is that I think that the obvious backup plan we had here in terms of this like compulsory purchase has been successful, apparently, as a part of the negotiations in getting Freightliner to change what they're doing and to get towards a more realistic fee. And that was really the point of it, is not to try to actually force it through via the council, but to hopefully have some kind of negotiating platform that allows us to get it for a fair price. Now, this opens up the questions on a few different topics, which is one, we still don't know how we are paying for this stadium. We still don't know how this whole thing is being funded. Specifically, I say we don't know. There's things I can speculate. There's things I can say that have been discussed, but we still don't have any sort of official confirmation. One moment. On what actually is that funding. So that's a curiosity. That's something that we're still trying to figure out. Now, what I can say is in discussions that I've had with people of the last couple of weeks, since this whole rumor came out about the ownership, about the takeover, about all of that kind of stuff, does continuously keep tying back to the stadium, where what I keep getting back, anything realistic in terms of feedback, is that United have held discussions, and I did share this some months ago. United have held discussions with multiple construction and building companies, some very big ones, some associated and well connected, obviously in the Middle East and such as well. It's hard to know yet what kind of decision has been made on this, or if any has been made on the construction. But as I was saying last week, regular meetings between Sir Jim and the Glazers in terms of moving forward with the whole building project and moving forward with the whole stadium project. So when these rumors came out about selling the club and a takeover, it was very easy for me last week to say, I really don't, there's nothing in it from what everything I can tell, because these are not the actions of people who are about to sell the club. Having breakthroughs on acquiring the land around the club is not the actions of individuals who are trying to sell the club. It's not the action of a club that is about to be sold. But what has been happening, and where there have been discussions for some time, have been regular meetings with people, discussions with different groups from around the world in terms of construction, in terms of investment, in terms of real estate, in different groups, to look at this project and say, hey, is this something you want to be a part of? How? I don't know yet. Would it be you're giving commercial opportunities to them by saying, hey, you'll get to own some of the land and you develop your commercial properties there and that becomes yours as a part of the whole regeneration? Are we selling people, these groups, the regeneration project where they can invest in the regeneration of Manchester? Or are we selling them some of this stadium? Are we saying, hey, you're gonna own some of the stadium and it's gonna be a separate entity when we rebuild it to Manchester United? It's gonna be owned by a different group and you'll be a part owner or full owner of that. Is it gonna be something where we create new shares, dilute Sir Jim and the Glazers get a bit lower, someone else comes in as a partner, more shares change hands? There's very likely going to be some ownership on that. But what I do know is that they have been discussing with groups, including groups in Dubai, and I have a different name to one of the ones that's out there, but including groups in Dubai and elsewhere over options, over different routes that they could be investing within the club and investing in Manchester United. So it's sort of an active, ongoing situation. What happens there? And some of these groups I think have taken that and said, well, is there an opportunity to do more than that here? Is there an opportunity to buy the club? If we don't know, how, I guess I would say, like, if we don't know how we're funding it still, and people are getting that idea, are people looking at it and saying, hey, well, there might be an opportunity to just buy this club because they don't know how to fund this thing yet, and we could use this to leverage our way in. Is that possible? I don't know. But certainly that is part of what's been speculated to me in asking questions, is that some of the groups we've discussed this with, or some of the places that it's been raised, the idea of funding or the idea of partnerships, have potentially looked at it and said, well, what about if we do more than that? What opportunities are there? The Glazers, Ineos, neither are looking to sell at this point in time, but you never know. But yeah, a third owner coming in could be very, very interesting as an option as well. Okay. So that's that. There's been progress on the land ownership. There's been progress on the movement towards getting more land for that, for getting the stadium done. It's a big project. It's in the works, and people are moving on it, but there's also discussions with other groups and things like that. Okay, so that's one interesting aspect to this story that we're going to have to keep following. But again, as I said from the beginning, nothing on this actual like ownership aspect as of yet. Right now, Ineos, Sir Jim, regular meetings, including a few weeks ago and not that long ago, and multiple actually, going through stuff like the stadium, all of that as well. And they're very much on the same page. So nobody planning to sell at this point in time. More likely commercial partnerships being on offer. So we'll see where that goes. The next thing is Joshua Zirkzee. Obviously, we discussed this a few weeks ago, beginning of October, I think it was, when I showed the screenshots messages that went in the Patreon first. So once again, if you feel like supporting the channel and being a part of a great community, you can always join the Patreon. Wonderful group in there, great channel to chat in. It's where I spend most of the time that I spend outside of the videos, talking, hanging out, arguing about stupid stuff, and all of that. Good place to be. And yes, during the year outside of the window, stuff often goes in there a bit early because I'm just preparing well ahead of time. But yes, we talked about Joshua Zirkzee and his situation, and that he was very likely going to look to leave should he not get the minutes, and United were kind of somewhat prepared for the situation, that there's been interest from Italy. I did note that there was a story then that came out from the Times. I think this is Paul Hirsch. It says, Roma keen to offer Joshua Zirkzee an escape from Manchester United. Dutch forward who wants game time to stake World Cup claim is subject to a possible January move after only 3 league goals since arriving at Old Trafford last season. So the biggest issue is, of course, the lack of game time, the lack of minutes available in a World Cup year that is causing problems for a number of these players. United are lining up their January window quite directly at this point. On the striker front, they have not, as far as I understand, have not settled on the type of striker. The original thing that I heard was that potentially to get in some sort of older, more veteran striker. Would they have another look at Danny Welbeck? Maybe. I don't know. That was what I originally heard, but I've discussed, and they're not, I don't think, nailed on to do that either. They could well get somebody more affordable, who's like Zirkzee, a younger, decent potential, good player that could come in, but a different profile to Joshua Zirkzee. And one maybe that is a bit more like for like in terms of what they want at the number 9 position. So there could be a younger player, to come in that kind of role, in that 25, 30 million, 35 million range, should they move Zirkzee on. If they do move Zirkzee on, if he wants that move, if nothing changes between now and January and they decide to sell, they do expect they can recoup a decent fee for him, 25 million. They probably will make back what they owe and a little bit more. Let's win. Hope you had a good holiday, James. Thank you, Evan. Ridwan. Yeah, I saw Welbeck today as well, and yes, I would still take Danny Welbeck back for sure. So the striker one is one that they're looking at, that they've opened the books on, essentially, again, to say, did we do something here? Do we need to do something here? And the answer is still a maybe, but they're definitely looking at it for January and beyond that, to be fair, but certainly January. And again, the plan with January is if they can get someone in that they want to sign for the club, forget January, forget summer, doesn't matter. If they can get someone that they want in for the club, they'll sign in January. They'll spend the money in January to do it. What they won't do is very likely buy someone that they don't really want or do some crap, loan or something like that that's no good, just because it's January. They do have the ability and the willingness, though, to spend in that January window. Should one of their main targets in one of these areas become available. So they're looking at the striker and, of course, the midfield. Obviously, I've been talking about it more and more, and I've seen more and more stories coming out, of course, about Adam Wharton. Once again, rising up the list, having a good season with Crystal Palace, of course. I as I kind of did a video last week, I really have started to believe that Adam Wharton might be the right guy. That he might be the right guy. Out of Anderson, Wharton, and Baleba, which are your favorite two? It's really hard. It's really hard to say. I'm worried about Baleba's start. I'm not gonna lie. I am. I I didn't actually notice him today. Did he play? Did he play well today? Did anybody notice? I saw some of that game, but I didn't even think of it. Did he play well? He got subbed again for Milner. 100% passing. Decent dribbling. Defensive stats look kind of mid. How was he today? For anybody who watched more of it, how was Carlos Baleba today? He was great. His stats looked better on the ball. I don't know. I'm still a little wary. Right? If you ask me today, it's Wharton and Anderson. Because I think Wharton and Anderson would make the best combination between the two of them. I think they'd be crazy good. I think Wharton and Anderson can make the best combination. So, you ask me today, that's what I think. You ask me in a few weeks, let's see how Baleba does. Let's see how he does over the next few weeks into January and see if that changes. But for now, I'm back on the Wharton train. I just think him sitting deep in front of the back three, it would fit so perfectly with what we need. With his passing range and stuff. But yeah, I'll have to see if I can catch a little bit more on Baleba again next week. I didn't have enough time this morning getting in to watch much of Brighton, so hard to say. So I don't have a good leg to stand on to say how myself in terms of watching Baleba today. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still worried about the start that Baleba had. Still am. I still am. But I really like Wharton. I've seen enough on Wharton to know I want him. I do. I'm not worried about it. I would take Adam Wharton in a heartbeat. I've got no more concerns over him. But hey, we'll see. So yeah, that's in January. I look at obviously that striker situation is coming to the forefront, as is of course the midfield. And if they can get one of a long-term targets on the midfield in January, they will. They will. Yeah, it's the bounce back in form since the injury for Wharton. Yeah, it's that. It's like Wharton keeps going back up to the level that he's been in. You know, if he can stay fit for the most part, then I'm not worried. And he's a young player, so it's not unusual to have some of those muscle injuries as long as he kind of grows out of it. That's the main thing. As long as he stays fit. Doing well, Naveen. I've been busy for a few days as well, so good to see you back. You know, it's crazy if we get Anderson. I don't know if Kabi starts. Well, he wouldn't today. I just the truth. Like, Kabi wouldn't start over any of those three at this point in time. You know, that's okay though. Maybe you play if he plays more and plays with it with a different partnership that will change. Maybe tomorrow. Isn't Wharton a bit slow? He is, but I've been looking at how Casemiro plays in this team, and I think it's much more important in that deeper position to have passing range. So Bruno made some interesting comments the other day that I did catch while I was away, and he was talking about he was profiling a few of the players. He was profiling some of the midfielders that he had, and he said that, you know, Casemiro, he likes to break the lines with his first touch. Kabi likes to break the lines, but usually more carrying the ball forward. and Ugarte is hunting. Now, if you want your 6 to be sitting deep, you can't play Kabi and Ugarte deep based on that profiling that Bruno said. And I believe it's profiling because it makes sense. It makes sense that, it makes sense the way he describes them. It makes sense in terms of that would also be how the manager probably is looking at it. So it was a really interesting video from Bruno in describing it in that way and in talking about Matic and Pogba in the past breaking the lines from deep so he could stay more forward. So what he's saying there is this is why Kabi doesn't play with Bruno. Kabi breaks the lines by moving his body up. That means he's forward and he's not back quickly. Ugarte doesn't sit. He gets around. Casemiro breaks the lines from deep. Well, Bruno will prefer to play with a player and will likely play better with a player who does sit deep and can break the lines because that's going to let him be more forward and you're going to see less bad Bruno, less Bruno picking the ball up deeper, less risk from deep Bruno, and more Bruno in more advanced areas like he described when he had Matic or Pogba behind him. So it makes sense he plays better with Casemiro, even though you look at it and say, well, the legs aren't all there. I think that when you look at the system and the way that we're playing and you look at Bruno and you look at all of that, you go, with Wharton, even though he's not fast, he is good. He's got a good eye for defending. He's got good instincts. He's a good tackler. And he can move the ball from deep without having to run it forward. And that means he can always be that defensive shield and he can get the ball up to Bruno or up to the forwards or up to the striker as necessary without depositioning himself. I think the problem is when a player's carrying the ball forward, they when the deeper player carries it more forward, then they're out of position and you don't have a sitter. So I think we're seeing some of that dynamic, and I did a video on that last week. It's like it's more like a 3-1, 3-1-4-2 in a lot of ways, the way that we play very often, where you have one of the 10s drops next to Bruno. One of the 10s, like Mbumo, stays for going runs in behind. The striker stays up, and the wingbacks are on the side. And then Casemiro's in the gap between the midfield and the center backs. And that's how it's supposed to be. And when I did the last tactics video, it became very
withdrawal. Clear. Welcome back, James.
Thank you, Eleazar. Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate the support as always. It did. I'm a little slow today. I apologize if I'm not like super high energy. Like I said, I got like absolutely no sleep. I was up. Flight was at 6 a.m. So it was like finished up 9 or 10. Got to the airport at like midnight, and so you're like checking in there in 4 or 5 hours. So just like kind of tried to nap in a car, and then anyway. But appreciate it, and do remember like the video, subscribe, all of that. I'm tired. A really solid night of sleep tonight, and I'll be good tomorrow, I think, for everything. But yeah, I'm slow today. But thank you, appreciate the support. But yeah, I think it was a really, really interesting interview that Bruno gave that described this, and I think on that basis, Adam Wharton is the right player, even if it's Mainu instead of Bruno someday. In the future. Keep the good work. Yeah, I don't know either, Jay. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't decided how I feel about how we're gonna play tomorrow. But we're gonna get to Liverpool here in just a second. I think Wharton is the guy. If I think about the way that Bruno's described things, Wharton's the guy. And if it's Mainu instead of Bruno in the future, it's still Wharton's the guy. Because Mainu's going to want to carry it forward. He's going to want somebody to feed him from deeper, so he's not Drop all the way back, go all the way forward, drop all the way back, go all the way forward. Because Mainu's good going forward into the final third as well. He's going to be, and that's fine. With Wharton, I think here's my thing on it. You know what you're getting with him by now. We've seen enough. I would have paid $80 million for him last summer. I would have paid $60 million for him the summer before. I've been talking about, not me, like just me, but I've been talking about Adam Wharton for 3 years now. And I know he's been on the club's radar for that long. It's kind of like, just do it. Like Declan Rice, like, it was so stupid that we just didn't just do it, And it's like, oh, the price keeps going up. Yeah, because the longer you let a player sit at a club in the Premier League and keep showing he's a top player, the more that price is going to go up. And it's like, at some point you just say, all right, we'll just do it, because it's just going to keep getting more expensive, because you're just getting more and more years of proof of a player's ability to perform in the Premier League and do what they're doing. And that's not going to change anytime soon,
Can
And so I
Leach
see it
and
very,
Wharton
very
play
similar.
together? For me, too similar.
In Leach, you mean like Leach as a center back? I mean, I start to worry about the pace aspect in general, but I think that's just more a Leach problem in general. Is what is Leach? His recovery pace just isn't the best for a wide center back. In terms of the ball, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I would not worry about that at all. It was earlier, wasn't it? Wasn't it 2023? I feel like Wharton's been there for longer than... Yeah, it's 2023, McMillan. So it was even a year earlier. 2023 or 20... Yeah, I think it was the year earlier. So he's been doing it for a while. We had our eyes on him from back at Blackburn and then Palace. Shea Lacey training with the first team and being around the first team environment, I think is excellent. I think he makes a good player out there. Yeah, the wide center back is good for the passing of Lissandro, but I think it's good. It's just good having both of the abilities there, as we've seen. We need the center backs to be more aggressive, if anything, than what we're getting. Like, when Lenny is really aggressive, it works. When Shaw's really passive, it kills us. Really, really hurts us. When De Ligt is very aggressive, it helps a lot. So I think that, no, I don't think Lissandro will have any issues working together if we got a midfielder like Wharton. But Wharton's who we should go for. We like him a lot. Obviously, Baleba and Anderson also on the list. But yeah, I think Wharton would be someone to keep a strong eye on. I did a whole midfielders video last week. Definitely still right, guys. Then I saw earlier this week that there was I guess it was a misattributed or a lacking in context quote about Amorim and Ugarte from one of the live Talk of the Devils or something. Oh, excuse me. Or something like that. Did it ever go anywhere? Because I asked around and there was two things that I understood from that quote that blew up, which unfortunately those things blow up. People don't like a player and then it's very easy to believe anything that you see or read as being true or within full context. But Dylan, who's United District, who joins on the United View sometimes as well on the red carpet, said that he spoke with Laurie and that was the quote was inaccurate. I spoke with people because I heard from people very directly there around that Garnacho situation, like when that happened. I covered it and there was more things said, certainly. I don't know what to say except that quote, just out of context like that, is definitely not how it went down at all. I think if I were to phrase it more without having the direct quote of the discussion, it was more like an encouraging it was more like an encouragement of yes, Amarim upset, pissed off, angry about how we're playing, blah blah blah. But it would have been more contextualized, like, I need to see more of what you did at Sporting rather than the basic quote of you are not the guy you were at Sporting. I don't know even. I'm just saying the context of the discussion as I heard it was more like I need to see more of the player I saw at Sporting, basically. But it is whatever. I mean, this happened a long time ago, but it's just interesting. You know, I don't know. All I know is that according to people who've spoken with Laurie, that the thing was inaccurate anyway, and just contextually or otherwise. And I think it's just more the importance of accuracy than it is that important to the subject matter as a whole. I'm just catching up on the whole week of stuff that happened. I don't think it was actually that harsh of a thing, you know, but we'll see. Look, Ugarte's someone who's on a prove it year as well. He's got to do better this season. No doubt about that. I see what you're saying, RSV, with regards to Bruno and all that. I get that. I mean, there's certainly been quite a number of big games where I would see that, but yeah. What else? Before we get to Liverpool, is there anything else I missed through the week? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I did not catch up on. Oh, there was Maguire and Casemiro, yeah. My understanding on Casemiro, no discussions over a new contract at this point in time. Haven't heard any intention to do so as of yet. It had been previously brought up about Casemiro maybe reducing his contract. There is certainly a consideration at the club. This applies to Casemiro. This applies to Maguire about not losing all of the veterans. And I will say one thing for Casemiro. On a very low contract, he's not the main guy. Casemiro doesn't have the this failure quirk that some of these guys who've been here a long time have. Of course, because he's won 5 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid, right? Casemiro doesn't have this mental problem that I would say a lot of the other guys do. He doesn't. He would be somebody I would not put into that camp where I would say he fails when the chips are down. Generally, he plays well in big games over his time at United, and he's shown up in a lot of key moments as well. I don't see Casemiro having the bad mentality aspect. He cannot be on wages where you're looking at it and saying he should be a starter or something like that. But like, I'm talking about less than 100. Like, you shouldn't be doing big wages there. You should be signing 2 midfielders, not having him block other players coming through. You're looking at him like a veteran leader in the dressing room, you know, who's going to get some rotational minutes, end games, set pieces, things like that. And the same goes for Harry Maguire. Now, I would say that as far as I know, no talks at the moment of overextending Casemiro's contract, whereas with Maguire, there are talks on a reduced wage contract for him. So, short deal. And I would say the same, you know, if we were to offer something similarly to Casemiro, that's what would be offered. I would be okay with it with Casemiro. I'd actually almost be okay with it more for Casemiro than Maguire, because Casemiro has a pedigree of success. And I think that there's things, you know, I think there's a certain value that he has. But yeah, it's just, it can't be a lot. It can't be long. And I would still lean more towards let's just have a clean break. But as of now, not heard anything about actual talks for Casemiro. And yeah, that's my issue, Corn, is the same issue. Like, is it blocking Kone? Is it blocking Morehouse? Is it blocking other guys? Is it blocking this Orozco kid that we're bringing in? Then don't do it at all. Again, I have not heard that there are actually any talks to extend Casemiro at this point, and I still expect he will leave fully. I was just more explaining my stance on it myself. With Maguire, there is, and yes, Maguire's also homegrown, which does have a bit of impact there. So, yeah, Maguire, I think he will get a new deal. Casemiro, I still don't think he will at this point in time, but we will see on that front. Again, not heard any talks. I saw the things on that, and I haven't followed it. I don't know if anybody else has talked about this since then. But yeah, I don't think Casemiro, my worry would be he would block young players. I don't think Maguire's blocking anybody. But yeah, I have not heard. Is there news on a new center back? Oh, this is part of the thing we want to assess, see how Lisandro does. Again, probably not until maybe just before the next international break will he play. But we'll see. Hopefully it's sooner than that. We need to assess Lisandro. We probably still need at least one more anyway coming through, and are keeping an eye on it as well. Like Casado, we should loan Orozco and Kone to Prem Championship teams to get. Yeah, if they're not going to play at the first team level right away, I would agree, Danny. I would like to see some loans. Like if Kone isn't going to be getting into the first team this year, I'd like to see him get loaned in January for the second half of the year. Let's see. Anything else before we move on to Liverpool? I'm not going to do a whole vote today. I'm sorry. I'm so tired that I don't have the ability to sit through it. So I'm not going to do a whole vote, but I will discuss my team, what I think. We can debate it back and forth a little bit. What do you guys think? I struggled with really just one position. People will probably be surprised about the midfield that I picked, but I've kind of made my mind up. I don't think this is a team we'll get, but yeah. Anything else I missed this week? Let me think. Yeah, if you think of anything else, I've been messaging people and things like that. It's just I can't think of anything else at the moment. If there's anything else I missed this week, let me know and I'll try to cover it here. But otherwise, this is my team. I went to watch the Broncos versus Jets at the Spurs ground. I was impressed.
The Jets at Spurs ground and was impressed by the NFL atmosphere. No idea what was happening on the pitch, but it was a non-stop hype train by the organizers.
So Joel, I hope you enjoyed it, and it was the Broncos ended up getting the win. But so the thing with American sports is because they're so stop-start, it's constant entertainment in between the whistles, right? Constant music, dancing, games, all sorts of shit, 24/7. So, and look, the crowd at NFL games is decent. I'll say that. It depends where you go, but the crowd is usually decent. But yeah, like because there's so many whistles, there's so much downtime. It is constant entertainment at NFL games. And it's the same for NBA. It's the same for them. Like watching on TV makes it horrible. I can't stand watching it on TV. In the stadium, it's still fun because there's always things happening. There's always things happening when you're in the stadium. When you're at home, it sucks. I can't do it anymore. I can't sit through it because of the advertising. In the stadium, it's still fun to watch those types of games. I'll still go to a basketball, to an NBA game every year, and but yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure. John Elway's why you're a Broncos fan? Me too, Marcus. Me too. That was the first NFL player I was ever a fan of way back in the day, way before I ever lived in Colorado. Yeah, the amount of gameplay is extremely low. It's extremely low. It's crazy. Now to be fair though, okay, like the huddles, the lineup, the pre-snap, the post-snap, like some of that is meaningful, even though it's it's not particularly exciting. Some of that is meaningful, so I think it's worthy of a little bit more time counted there, like all of that, but still, regardless, I understand. Yeah, today's live time is good. It's hard for me to do it every day at this time, but it works for now. But yeah, the amount of dead time for commercials is massively over the top. Massively. All right. Let's move on to the lineup. This is my team. I really don't want to see. I know it's not going to be this. I really don't want to see Luke Shaw start again. I just would rather get some athleticism on that side and Aiden Heaven. I know now I worry that it's young. He's young. He hasn't played a lot of games, and now you're throwing him in against Liverpool. But it doesn't matter. Like, you've shown up in big games before. He's athletic. I'm really worried that Luke Shaw is going to be ripped apart over there. I mean, for good reason. I really worry about Shaw. I'm fine with the rest of it. I think this was the team against Sunderland. Is Heaven injured? I thought he was okay, but I do remember that. The team against Sunderland was just this, wasn't it? I don't know if he's injured. I thought the under-21s guy said he was fine, but maybe he is injured. He is injured. All right. Well, fair enough. Well, shit. Then it's just this. But I don't want. But then it cannot be Dalot. Dalot was so bad. He cannot play this game. Dalot was so bad against Sunderland. This was the Sunderland lineup with Dalot, though, right? I think Dalot, it was so long ago, it feels like now. It has to be Ahmad out here. Mount 100% should retain his place. He will support the midfield. Mbumo for the pace and behind. This Mbumo Ahmad side is our biggest advantage against that Liverpool team. It's our biggest advantage against that Liverpool team. Yeah, Dalot started on that side. That's what I remember, because he was terrible. We got to have Dorgu. We just have to. This side will can go crazy. I know Casemiro. I'm worried because last international break we ended up playing Ugarte here. Again, the balance is the issue. I don't think Ugarte had a bad game against City, but the balance is just off the reasons Bruno described. Alternatively, you go Ugarte, Mainu, and you move Bruno up, but that means you have to drop Mason Mount. I don't think we should do that either. I would just go with what we did against Sunderland. I think we just go with what we did against Sunderland, but give me Dorgu then. That's all I really want. That's all I really, really want. That's it. I know. I'm look. I think that Amorim is slowly learning, right? Last time we got Ahmad, we finally got Lamens, we got De Ligt and Yoro together again. They played well. I don't think he's going to change that. I think he's going to play Ahmad out there. I don't think he's going to drop Ahmad because that was so dangerous. The Ahmad and Mbumo connection was so good that game. I think he'll keep them. He likes to ride a win and stick with it, usually anyway. We've got to have this. But then Dorgu also is the only guy who has the pace to get up and down on that left side. But like the biggest, I'll give you my 3 things for this game. Ahmad has to play. No Dalot. And Lamens still. Ahmad, no Dalot, Lamens. As long as we do those 3 things, I think we'll get the rest of the team right and we'll win. But yeah, if we go 2 defensive fullbacks, then we're going to lose all advantage that we had. All advantage that we had. So that's my worry. We've got to have that attack in the wide areas. That Mbumo Ahmad combination is just so good. It's so good. It has to stay. It has to. So that's my team. Would you change anything else? I could put Mazraoui in the back. Yeah, I wasn't sure if Mazraoui would be fit enough to play. If Mazraoui is fit, then it's this 100%. This is this 100%. Then I go with that. But I thought Mazraoui's not ready yet. If I have Mazraoui, I'm doing this. If I don't have Mazraoui, then we have to go the other way. Not available. Yeah, I didn't think he was ready yet. So unfortunately. No, I know that Casemiro is a doubt because he played 2 games for Brazil, 90 minutes and all that. And that's what happened last time when we started Ugarte in the middle, which he could do. Here's the thing with this. If we do this, then we have to get the then we've got to support the midfield better with Mount. Have to. And Ahmad out wide. Because when we did it against City, we had good moments, but we played a defensive fullback and we played Ahmad here, and that did not work. That didn't work at all. So we can't do that. We have to keep this out wide so that, because all that City then did is just start drifting in because we had no wide threat. If we've got that wide threat, then they can't overload the midfield in the same way. So something like this. If Casemiro's out, then this is fine as long as we are getting, Ahmad and out wide and all of that. So that's it. That's my team. All right. Let me know your thoughts. Anyway, I appreciate you all. I'm going to end it here. I'm so tired. I've got to get some sleep. I'm going to record a preview and post it for later, brief one and all of that. I'm going to get some sleep and everything and be ready for the pre-match tomorrow. We'll watch the game. There'll be a watch along, obviously, and then a post-match discussion and all that. And we'll be back to business and then all the normal stuff. So I thank you all very much for being a part of the channel. Good to see you all again. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe and all of that. Make sure to join everything that you can. Support me in every way possible. It means a lot to me. No, I do thank you all, and I will see you all in the morning or afternoon, I guess, for the game. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good evening. Good night. See you later. Goodbye.